recording will then be uploaded to our YouTube channel in case you want to check it out at a future time or share it with any people that you think might be interested. And to dive right in, thank you everybody for joining us today for our Q3 January town hall. We're really excited to have everybody here, and we're really excited for the conversations that we're going to be starting today. A brief overview of what we'll be doing. First, we'll give a few programmatic updates on the Reach Out and Read end, and then spend the bulk of our time on the panel discussion, reviewing the importance of providing diverse books to families with a wonderful panel of 3 Reach Out and Read medical champions. And then we'll also hear a presentation from Nancy Hampton from the New York State Council on Children and Families. She'll be sharing a little bit about what the council does and the resources that are available to you at the sites. And then we'll be closing out. And as always, if you have any follow-up questions or want to continue that conversation, please feel free to reach out to us. Just a brief overview of the Reach Out and Read team. You've probably seen at least one of our names in your inbox a bunch of times. So sorry for that. You might be sick of our names, but we're here to help, promise. And diving right into a few programmatic updates. As you have probably seen in your inboxes from me, that we are currently in our progress report cycle. As always, it's collecting information about number of well child visits and books distributed, patient demographic info, and external resources. And all of this info helps us on the Reach Out and Read end.
You on the phone? No.
As a reminder, could everybody please stay muted so that we're able to keep out background noise.
Started already, okay? And put your name in the chat.
Veronica, if you could make me co-host, I'm able to help out. Thank you.
Increasing just little by little. Yeah. The reason why we lost patients because we
sorry about that. And then some important dates to keep an eye out for with the progress reports. We did launch a couple of weeks ago on the 15th. We have 2 office hour sessions for anybody to jump in, ask any questions that they might have about completing the report. That first one will be Monday, February 3rd, this upcoming Monday, and on February 19th. The final deadline for this progress report is March 1st. So you'll be seeing a lot of emails from me. And the sooner you submit the report, the sooner I will leave your inbox alone. And I'm going to pass it off to Carrie for a couple updates about our books.
Thanks, Veronica. Hello, everyone. Excited to see that we had books delivered last month in December. We received a large order from All About Books, which was shipped to almost all of our sites. So thank you all for your communications around that order. We still have a couple sites that are waiting to receive a second shipment of books to make some shipments easier. So we'll be reaching out to a couple sites to talk about the rest of their shipments. But for the most part, we've received really great feedback about those books, and I definitely encourage you to keep sharing what you're really enjoying about books, some other titles that you would like to be seeing, other types of books you would like to be seeing. We definitely take all that into consideration when looking at future book orders. We are also expecting books coming from Barefoot Books in the next couple of months. Our current timeline is end of February, early March to receive that next large shipment of books. These books are going to be in English and English-Spanish bilingual. There should be about 20 titles, and before the books go out, I will provide a list of the titles, the suggested age range, and a little bit about each book so that you guys know what types of books you're getting and what children will be able to use these books for. Again, feel free to send us some information about the books, about what you like about them, and other books that you would like to see in the future. And we definitely appreciate everyone that responded to emails about storage capacity for this next shipment. That's definitely something we're trying to take into consideration when doing our book ordering, is to make sure that you guys have the capacity to store these books. Finally, we are working on our final book order of our fiscal year 25, which should be happening in the next couple months. We are currently in the very beginning stages, which means we are looking at what our book need is. And so we've heard from a couple of you guys that nutrition books are important. So we're looking to prioritize some nutrition books coming up. And this is also the time of year where we do our multiple language book orders. So we are expecting to order books this round in Spanish, Bengali, Haitian Creole, Chinese, French, Arabic as our top 5 languages. And then we look forward to seeing what other languages you guys acknowledge your family's need in the progress report. So another reminder is how we use the progress report is looking at that language need. So we definitely appreciate the information that we get there, and we're doing our best to try to meet those different language needs that we see. So we're at the beginning stages of this multi-language book order, and those books we expect to be delivered in the fall of 2026. So a fiscal year 2026, sorry about that, calendar year 2025, so next fall. And I will share in the chat a link to our website where we have our schedule for purchasing books for this fiscal year. So you have an idea of when some of these big, large shipments are coming, and when you can expect communications from us around these shipments. I'll also note that we do have a storage unit where we hold a smaller portion of our books. So if you ever find yourself needing some books, reach out to any of our contacts that you have, Veronica, Tim, Jesse, me, and we're happy to put you on our order for the next time we're at the storage unit and to ship you out a box of books. If there are any questions about books, feel free to put them in the chat. And I will respond to them there, but I will pass it back to Veronica and we'll keep this town hall going.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. So with those updates, like Carrie said, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. But to dive right into what we're all here for today, the panel presentation, we're going to be discussing the importance of culturally diverse books and the importance of sharing those with families during your well-child visits.
Remember holding your cup.
Thank you, Jesse. And to just briefly introduce our guest panelists, today we have Dr. Faye Kokotos joining us from Children's Hospital at Montefiore Albert Einstein College of Medicine. We have Dr. Kelechi Ngwangwa coming from the Family Health Centers at NYU Langone. And just to note, she is also a recipient of the Reach Out and Read of Greater New York Advocate for Diverse Books Awards back in 2023. And finally, we have Dr. Jenna Abelman joining us from Settlement Health. Now I'm going to pass it over to our panelists so that they can tell you a little bit more about themselves and the work that they're doing at their sites. So I'm passing this off to Dr. Kokotos. Dr. Kokotos, I'm not sure if you're—
Of course, I didn't unmute myself. You would think I would learn after so many years of doing Zoom. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the kind invitation to participate in this panel discussion on this important topic. Just a little bit about our practice. I work in the North Bronx at the Family Care Center, which is affiliated with the Children's Hospital in Montefiore. We are a site that provides care to a very diverse group of the local community. Families mostly come from different parts of the world. We have many American-born families, but also families that immigrate from primarily like the Dominican Republic and Mexico, West Africa, other parts of the South America, the Caribbean islands, and we also have a small group that also come from Yemen, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, and Albania as well. Because we also have 16 general pediatricians, and we are the teaching clinical site for the pediatric residents at Children's Hospital at Montefiore. We have 36 residents that we work with throughout the 3 years of the residency training. We've been a Reach Out and Read practice for over 26 years, and I've been running this program for about 16 going on 17 years now. And so just why we thought, we talked about the importance. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've seen our population change and shift, and we've realized the need to incorporate more diverse books. And this became more of an issue during COVID, and with how our community was really impacted with the devastation of the COVID pandemic and Black Lives Matter movement. And so as a group, our practice made the effort and wanted to incorporate more diverse books and inclusive books into our practice. So we've been using various resources to reach out and read. We've also noticed over the years, like Reach Out and Read of Greater New York has participated with different book companies. In addition to Scholastic, there's the books that was companies that were mentioned earlier, like Barefoot Books and All About Books. But we've noticed that also these book companies are also providing more diverse titles and higher quality books for our families that are speaks different languages. And Spanish is the second most common language in our population. And thanks. I don't know how much more do you want me to talk about? I don't want to take away time from anyone else.
Now I forgot to unmute myself. No, that is perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Kokotos. And to pass it off to Dr. Ngwangwa, I believe I saw her in the chat earlier, passing it off to you to talk a little bit more about the work you're doing at your site.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Dr. Ngwangwa. I'm the Associate Medical Director at the Family Health Centers of NYU Langone. I've worked with Reach Out and Read through all aspects of my career, starting from residency on, and I am in love with the program in its entirety. At the Family Health Centers, we do have multiple sites, and each site is incorporated into different pockets of Brooklyn. So, and within those different pockets of Brooklyn, we have different cultures, different languages, and every site has, in a sense, their own little bit of flavor. The site that I currently work at is predominantly Hispanic.
Leave it alone. Go sit down.
Oh. The site I currently work at is predominantly Hispanic, but we do have other sites that have Arabic speaking populations, Mandarin speaking populations, Creole speaking, English speaking as well. So I do love the fact that Reach Out and Read does give the opportunity to have these diverse books that our parents and our patients can relate to as they're also developing themselves at such an early age.
Also, thank you so much, Dr. Ngwangwa. Going to pass it off now to Dr. Abelman to introduce yourself and your site a little bit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Abelman. I am a pediatrician and the director of population health at Settlement Health. So Settlement Health is a federally qualified health center located in Spanish Harlem and East Harlem. So obviously we see a large Spanish population. That's the large majority of our patients. But we also have recently, in the last probably 5 to 10 years, seen a huge influx in Arabic speaking patients, particularly Yemeni Arabic speaking patients, and most recently Portuguese patients. And so we really try to do or make a huge effort to make all of our families, as I'm sure everyone does, feel welcome, included, to make sure that we're speaking in a language that they understand. And it's really amazing to be able to do that through the books as well, so that the families feel that it's true comprehensive care, but also comprehensively like understanding them and their culture. And I know especially our Spanish speaking patients are really excited to see kind of stories and folklore that they grew up with presented in books. The kids are excited to see other children that look like them in the stories. And for our population that isn't Spanish speaking, because they're used to everybody speaking Spanish around them, like our Arabic speaking patients, they've been very excited to get some books in Arabic as well. And the parents have even said that it allows them to learn English alongside their children when they're in school and to help them even more. So that's one reason that we do it, but I think it's made a huge impact in our families.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing a little bit more about what you're doing at your sites. So opening it up to a kind of more broad panel discussion. Would love to hear you all sharing in more detail and bouncing thoughts off each other. And anybody who is in the chat, please feel free to share any questions or comments that you may have so that we can bring them up while we have our panelists here today. And just to get us diving right in to start on this conversation, something that I heard, I think all three of you bringing up is that for example, there's different populations you work with, whether there's different pockets across the boroughs or you see a population change over time. With that in mind, I would love to hear more about how you determine the specific cultural or linguistic needs of your patients when you're selecting books, whether that's on a more site-wide scale or even one just going into a specific well-child visit, how you make that determination.
Well, for us at the Family Health Centers, I believe it's a balance of both. Our Reach Out and Read team is very cognizant of our different patient populations. So the exam rooms tend to have a number of books depending what our predominant population is for that particular site. And still with that, we still have a number of books that can still fit different cultures as well, because although you do have your predominant cultural demographic, we still have other populations that come to the clinic. So then this is where the exam comes in. So when we're in the exam room, now you can now identify, okay, which population am I dealing with? And then go from there, determining which book to offer them.
At our site, since we're one clinic site, we give the book at the start of the visit, so the pediatrician usually identifies or ahead of time what the needs are. You know, if it's a bilingual family, they'll grab the bilingual book. If it's English Spanish, we also have some English Bengali books, and most of our books really show really very diverse representation and cultures. So and the families, you know, they do appreciate seeing themselves represented in many of these books now that we're offering them. But families all, you know, like they talk about the mirrors, but there's also a lot of positive feedback we've been getting from families regarding the books that show different perspectives and different cultures from their own, and windows into other worlds. So giving the book is at the start of the visit, and you give your guidance and kind of move forward with the book, and the child plays with the book, the mother looks at the book, you point things out. It really adds to the visit. It really makes it a very positive experience for both the family and the physician.
I think that my experience or at our clinic, it kind of mimics what has already been said. I also get a lot of feedback. One, as a provider myself, I obviously see my own patients and what their needs are, but get a lot of feedback from our other pediatric providers about what they're seeing, what types of cultures or populations they're seeing, and how the books are resonating with them to kind of adjust. So for instance, in this upcoming report, I'll probably request a couple of Portuguese books because now we're seeing more and more Portuguese families and the same with our Arabic patients. Once our Arabic population got a lot higher and we saw that they were really resonating with those books, we've requested more of those as well.
May I just add one more point? Since we're affiliated with the Children's Hospital at Montefiore, you know, many of our families come to our site because they also receive subspecialty services at Montefiore. And we have a lot of children with disabilities, with autism spectrum, other developmental disorders, children with physical disabilities in wheelchairs. So we have provided books, and that have pictures. Actually, there are a lot of books now that actually show children of different cultures, but have also different abilities. And so these families really appreciate all the books that we also provide them that show characters that fit their child's profile. And if I can name some books, like the recent 35 to 35 collection had this wonderful book called Bus Stop, and all the kids are waiting on the street. It's a snowy day and they're waiting for the bus to pick them up, and they're just playing, and there's kids of different colors, different sizes, and a child in a wheelchair. So it just resonates, as Dr. Eibelman meant, it resonates with many of our families.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that there's so many different ways for the books to be representative, and that's something we're trying to be cognizant of as we are working with publishers and placing those orders. As a very quick side note, I was at a community event in the Bronx the other day, and one of the books that I had on the table was Bus Stop, and a little boy came up to the table and he just read the entire book to me and was super excited about all the different pictures and like describing the like different kids that he saw. So yeah, that's a great example of a book. So something that I thought was really interesting was that you all brought up how you've received a lot of positive feedback from families that they are appreciating seeing themselves and their children represented in those books. I've been wondering if that's extended to impacting the rest of your well child visit. For example, we all know that major part of the Reach Out and Read model is providing that anticipatory guidance about the importance of literacy and building that early relational health component. So how have these books, with the different cultures and diversity represented, how have they shaped the way that you are providing that anticipatory guidance to families? Or if there's like any examples that you might have.
I think it just augments the work that we already do, and just bringing in a book with a different culture. I could give you I can't remember the book title right now, but there was a book that showed, this was a Spanish-speaking family. Actually, the mother spoke English, some English, and it was a book representing some Chinese children, and with the dumplings, I think it was, and she enjoyed the book. We talked about reading, and it's all the normal guidance that we give, but she enjoyed the book. She said, "Oh, I like that because we can learn about other cultures." So they were very accepting of the book. So I don't think it augments what we already do. That's how I view it.
I think they also, like she said, it really does augment what we do. I remember in particular, we were talking about potty training. The mom said, we haven't done it yet. And I did have a bilingual book in regards to potty training. So it was just the perfect segue to starting this process for this family. And not only now can mom utilize it because she was predominantly Spanish speaking, but she also wants her child to learn English as well, in addition to Spanish. So now there's multiple things happening with this book. We're learning language, we're learning potty training, we're seeing ourselves with the book. So they really just appreciated my advice now being emulated in something I'm offering them to take home.
I think that it also has another benefit. English-speaking families can also learn a new language through the use of the bilingual books. So it's not just people who are speaking a language other than English that can learn from this. It's also our English-speaking population.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. And another tiny story, the same community event that I was at, I had the Our World books, featuring India, Ethiopia, Mexico, and China with the different words in different languages. And another child had come up to the table and she was reading the books, learning the different words, and then teaching them to me. And then it started a conversation where she was teaching me Spanish, I was teaching her French. So definitely, like, these are great ways to get everybody involved, whether they're looking through a window or through a mirror. And Dr. Ngwangwa, I love what you mentioned about using that book to start a conversation. So that's one of the biggest pieces that we try to emphasize with Reach Out and Read, is that it's not just giving the book, it's like using the book as a tool to help you through anything that needs to be discussed in the well child visit. And while we're thinking about specific experiences, kind of going off of that, I was wondering if you all have a favorite diverse title, and if you have a memorable moment of sharing it with a family. that maybe transformed the visit, or is just a really happy memory that you think exemplifies what we're trying to do?
I think I already gave mine.
Yeah, there's so many book titles. To pinpoint, I can give you a few examples. I enjoyed Lola at the Library because it builds on, like we're talking with the families about reading, building that activity, reading aloud, interacting with the books, but also connecting them with the local library, because there's a rich resource in many communities. We have local libraries, and to encourage them to access that resource and to get library cards. So I love the Lola at the Library because it shows a child going to the library and getting books. Another favorite was Mommy's Khimar. We had purchased this a few years ago, and a Muslim, it shows a Muslim girl and doing some playing doing dress up with mommy's, clothes and mommy's colorful headscarves. And we had the family that received this book said, this is the first time, we've received a book that showed a Muslim character that really represents us. So I could talk about many stories. There's just a lot of stories. There's Solway was a book that we purchased a few years ago. It was written by one of an actress, Lupita Nyong'o, and an Albanian child received this book, and she was like, "This is so." She's so beautiful. She just hugged the book and really enjoyed it. And then the mother and the child were interacting with the book. So there's many moments.
I think one of my recent favorites was on my quote was Benita. I think it's called Benita and the Night Terrors, and it's about this little girl who is reading, and she has all these Peruvian folklore boogie monsters that are coming, that are trying to scare her and be like nightmares, and she's like, get away, I'm reading. And then they all start reading together, and I think it's just really talks about the power of a book to transport you to somewhere else, and no matter what the fears or anything that's going around you, you can kind of avoid that, but also maybe bring people in and teach them other things. And especially our medical assistants get the most into the books and read through and go through all of them, and are also from all of these countries. And so there was a medical assistant who is Peruvian, and he was so excited reading through it and being like, I remember this character and this one and this one. And so it's nice to have that for them.
I love that you mentioned getting the other providers, the medical assistants, involved in the process, because I think we all know that Reach Out and Read is very much a team effort, a team lift at sites. So it's always important to have everybody get some buy-in into the program. And I was wondering if you could all expand or touch base on a little bit on how do you encourage your fellow providers at your site to put the same emphasis on highlighting culturally diverse books, and do this, put in that effort to integrate it into their Reach Out and Read practice?
Honestly, one of the biggest ways that we do it is through the medical assistants, because a lot of times they're the ones that are rooming the patients and maybe helping select the books. And they have gotten so into it that they make sure that their providers also give books, and that they're talking to them about it, and making sure that the kids are all leaving with books, and showing them our little kind of library and reading area. And so they've been a huge help and advocate for the program.
Our book storage is inside our exam rooms with the providers. So we really love the fact that it's just easily accessible for us to be able to get the books in the visit once we determine the best book for the patient. The providers at my clinic, we all are just in love with Reach Out and Read. We tend to have a volunteer from Reach Out and Read also come to the clinic, and they do reading sessions in the waiting room. So that also helps to promote what we're doing here as far as the diverse books, the early childhood development, and so forth. So it's really not a hard task to get the providers on board.
I ditto everything that was said. You know, my team here is like the best. And everyone's really on board and excited, from the pediatricians and our residents who really are promote this program quite. They enjoy giving the book. So the books are given like before you start your visit. You go to the book closet and obtain the book for the age, because everything's sort of distributed by age, so everyone's on board. It's the easiest task that I have is like there's no question people support this program.
Amazing. Yeah, we have a lot of really wonderful providers in our network, and we're all very thankful for each and every one of you for making this program actually happen on the ground. Actually, something that came up, Dr. Nwangwa, when you were mentioning that there are books stored in the exam rooms themselves, I was wondering if any of you could speak to if you've ever had families weigh in on the choice of the book that they have, and maybe how that's impacted what book is being given out or their responses to the diversity in the book selection.
More so I've had, go ahead.
I was gonna say that they frequently have opinions about everything, but it's also about the books. So we like to give them options of books so that they can choose which ones that they want. A lot of times they're choosing because they'll even say, this one looks like me, I want this one, or that looks like grandma, whatever it is. And so that can be part of it, but we did have we do get pushback for some books, like that book's ugly, or that book, I don't know any, like that language, like I don't want that. And even with the parents too. And a lot of it is enlightening, like what somebody had mentioned earlier, that it's okay, even if you don't speak this language, like you can learn about this culture and you can learn about this still. It's still in a language that you speak. Since all of them are like bilingual or have some English, if they're English speaking, or have some Spanish. So to try to kind of push people a little bit outside their comfort zones, but also give them sometimes something that they're comfortable with.
Yeah. Each site has their own workflow, so that they don't have a choice actually many times, because we have the books sort of as I said, put in a book closet by ages, and so usually it's one title at a time. But I did have one experience one time when there was pushback from the family. It was for one of the toddler age. There was a book, a bilingual book actually, and this was a bilingual English Spanish speaking family, and it showed two fathers, and it was like naming objects, like naming objects, and it was and the mother, returned the book to me. She said, I would like another book. And I had a little bit of a discussion. I said, we take care of all types of families here, and many of we also have families where there may be two mothers and two fathers, and that's why we distribute these books. And as you can see, this book is also in English and Spanish, so to help with families who also are Spanish speaking. But she still didn't want the book, and I didn't force the issue. I went back to the closet and I picked another book from another age range. But that was the only time I really had some pushback about a particular book.
As Dr. Abelman said, it seems the little patients that have a lot of words tend to have the most opinions about the books. So with time, I've learned to definitely give them the options, and then they'll pick which one that they resonates with them better in the moment. But as far as the babies go, the parents are usually very susceptible to whichever books are chosen. They just get excited once the cabinet is open and they're like, oh, we get books today. And so it's good overall. Yeah.
And with because Dr. Kokotos, you mentioned that all sites have different workflows, which is definitely something we try to be aware of when we're offering best practices and guidance to our different sites. Wondering if all of you could weigh in on how you manage to incorporate the book discussion and highlighting the diversity of these books when there's already so much that you already have to do with the well child visits. Like, you have so many questions, so many tasks you have to do. How do you carve out even a minute or two to highlight the book?
I find that it usually easily flows with what we're talking about already. Like no matter what the age you're talking about in the little one's development. So like during the development to talk about introducing vocabulary, talking about colors, names, narrating your life and narrating the book to help the child learn vocabulary. And then as they get older and are starting to be in school age, we talk frequently about school and how they're learning and if they're reading books or talking about or how their speech is. And so it kind of easily flows from there. And we've started, Reach Out and Read is obviously the first 5 years, but we've started to try to get books past that. And so the same thing, a lot of times parents tell me like, they're really struggling with reading. They need to learn how to they need to read more. So we'll try to get books about things that they're interested in. So maybe they get excited about reading the book, or we kind of show them those things.
So in our practice, each provider has their own workflow as how they decide to give books. Me personally, I utilize them in the wrap up, kind of like how Dr. Abelman mentioned. The book is usually chosen based on something we discussed, and it seems like it's something that they could resonate with the visit and then carry home. So if we discuss, oh, can they identify colors? Oh, no, we haven't done that yet. Okay, great. We have a book that will help you identify colors, the potty training, the numbers, and so forth. And even the young babies, if a parent asks like, oh, what are things I could do? Now we have these wonderful 2-month books with the color contrast to help with brain development. So I find great utility in utilizing it like towards the wrap-up session, because now we can now bring it all full circle.
We tend to give it at the beginning of the visit. It's really used as a tool. It easily flows into the workflow of your encounter. It doesn't. It's things that we already do as part of the visit. So you give the book. You're assessing so many things, like you're watching the relationship, the bonding between the mother and the child, because once you give them the book, they start turning the pages, the child's on their lap, and they start pointing things out. So you really can observe a lot of what's happening with the relational health from that encounter, that time. You also can assess fine motor skills. If the baby's able, puts it in the mouth, grabs the book, turns the pages. And then as they get a little bit older, you start pointing out things, and you're modeling how you're using the book with the parent, and you're pointing out and naming things, and then asking the child to name back to you. And then when they're a little bit older and they're learning their letters, you can assess how they recognize the letters of the alphabet. And then as they're starting to put the letters together to form words, and they're in kindergarten, you can actually see some of them starting to read some of the text on the book. So it's really flows very nicely into the visit, and it really is part of the visit, because you really using it as a developmental assessment tool, and then also giving your counseling on top of that. So. And it calms them down. Sometimes you give that little baby, that toddler that's running around the room, or the mother is giving the phone to the child to look at. Once you give them the book, they kind of put everything else away, and they start really gravitating to the book and looking at the pictures.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I think that's really great advice for especially providers that are new to the program. We often have a lot of residents participating, and we always have new providers joining, whether it's at existing sites or new sites that we have begun onboarding. And just to circle back to something that Dr. Kokotos, you had also mentioned, you gave an example of a book that hadn't been received very well by a family. And as much as we try to make our books as accessible and inclusive and representative as possible, we do understand we serve so many families with so many different values and cultures and preferences. If you have any advice to providers who encounter that, what would you advise them to do in a situation like that? For example, I know Dr. Kokotos, you mentioned that you had that conversation about why you chose the book or why it's there, but ultimately didn't press the issue. So just wondering if Dr. Abelman or Dr. Ngwangwa, you also have experienced any of that.
I haven't really experienced that, but if a parent doesn't want a particular book for whatever decision, I think I would just say respect why they're not receptive to it, and then give them another option if one is available.
Yeah, I've had that experience a couple of times, and the same thing, just to like discuss why we have these books, that it's I mean, one of the ones that was pushed back was like, there was nothing, I don't even understand, like there was nothing of, not even offensive, just like nothing even different about the book. But people have their own views and opinions, and so the whole point is to get people excited about reading and excited about the book. So I'm not gonna really push one way or the other or make it some type of negative experience. And usually we have other books on hand, so I will offer those as well. And if they really don't want one, then that's okay. They can go to the library or somewhere else to get books that fit them better.
Amazing.
I would like to share though, I have not had that experience where anyone didn't like a book that was given to a child. Most of our families are so grateful to have the opportunity to have books and build home libraries. They don't care about the title or the content, many of them. And I don't think that any of the books that we have has anything that would be offensive or not accepted by families.
Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, definitely hits home on how these books help a lot of our families build up their libraries. And I appreciate talking about our panelists talking about the maybe less happy interactions when things don't go as smoothly as we want to, which because that's something I know I tend to focus on the positive of reach out and read. I need to remind myself things don't always go as smoothly as planned. But I really appreciate you sharing your insight into those situations and into how you've really been promoting these books at your sites with your families and getting your entire team engaged. It's really wonderful. And just to end on a little bit more of a positive note, is there a favorite childhood book that you read as a child, or maybe you read to a sibling, a child, like a son or daughter, that you think is just like a really great, colorful, fun, representative book?
Rainbow Fish.
Love that one.
The Snowy Day.
Pop Fish.
I was a huge Eric Carle fan, so all of the Eric Carle books. And then when I found out my brother's middle name was Eric, I was like in awe. But I particularly liked Brown Bear, Brown Bear. What do you
Oh
see?
yeah, that's a good one.
And Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Yes, I was
Boom,
thinking
boom.
about the caterpillar. That is a
Classics.
timeless
Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing their time and their expertise with us. I'll be sending some follow-up information with this town hall and would love to continue this conversation either via email, through future town halls, or here's a quick plug, through our upcoming annual conference, which Jesse will provide a little bit more information about. So thank you again to our panelists. And I'm going to pass this off to Nancy Hampton from the New York State New York State Council on Family and Children and Families. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nancy Hampton, and I'm the Family and Community Engagement Liaison here at the New York State Council on Children and Families. And I love this discussion. I love how Dr. Kokotos was talking about libraries. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and information we can share and help you with. So can you go to the next slide, please? Let's see. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about us, this is, you can explore our new website through the QR code. And we serve as a convener. We're an innovator and change agent among the state's health, education, and human service agencies. And we're positioned as like a neutral body. And so we work with state and local organizations, both in the public and private sectors, to address cross-systems issues. And we provide recommendations to the executive chamber to improve the outcomes for all of New York's children and families. So I'm going to go to the next slide, please. Keep going. I'm going to share some of the resources we have for early childhood teachers, professionals, and for yourselves. So this is called the Family Guide to New York State Early Childhood Services. And this used to be a placemat. It was a two-sided placemat, but now this is a folder. And it has resources and services for prenatal through age 5 that are free throughout the state. So it touches on everything from early intervention to state-funded pre-K, preschool special education services, family supports, mental health, domestic violence, addiction supports, health, and then basic needs. Like it has information about SNAP, like this supplemental nutrition assistance program, and HEAP, the home energy assistance program. This folder is new and it comes in 16 different languages. So I'll rattle them off to you really quickly. We have it in Arabic, Bengali, Italian, Chinese, English, Pashto, Dari, Yiddish, Russian, Ukrainian, Haitian Creole, Spanish, French, Korean, Urdu, Polish, and English. So this is a great resource that might be very helpful to your families. And we have plenty of them. So, and at the end, I've got a few slides. There'll be a QR code and you can order these. Okay, next slide, please. This might be helpful to you too. This is the Guide to Special Education Support Services in New York State. And this is from the State Education Department, but this might be good for your practices to make you aware of how a referral happens for families, for a family, whether it's, and it takes you through how to make a referral for early intervention, because early intervention, and I know y'all know this, is birth through 3 in New York State, and it goes through the health department in your local municipality. And then the Committee on Preschool Special Education goes through the school district, and it goes through, so it's a process and they're both different. So this might give you guidance to help families and at least help them know how to make a referral and how to start the process if they have concerns. We have these available in Spanish right now, and pretty soon we will have new English ones. So right now I just have Spanish available. Okay, next slide, please. We have these, they're called Let's Talk About Parenting posters. These are free posters you could have. They could be in your waiting room. It could be in your, lobby or whatever. And it just gets them, thinking it's a conversation starter. And, it, just basically reminding families to talk, read, and sing to their children each day. And through books is a great thing. So I have those available in there in English. Okay, next. All right, so this is something new we got last year. It's called Let's Talk About New York State Animals. And this is a coloring book that we have available in English and Spanish. And the library system used these last year. So I'm a big fan of libraries, trying to make sure that libraries have these resources for families, because libraries are so important, such an important hub in a community. And so these have all about the animals around the state, what the state bird is, and it gives parents a chance to interact with their kids, because there's facts about each animal on the pages. And just if you're wondering, does anybody know what the New York State reptile is? I won't make you wait. It is the snapping turtle. And the reason I know that is because that was one of the pages I was responsible for. So it's really pretty and it's engaging, and they have been very popular. And you can order these. Everything I'm talking about is free. So these are New York State resources that are free. And then I'll have a QR code in just a couple more slides. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we have an Early Childhood Comprehensive Systems Grant, the ECCS. And so these are 3 books that you may already be familiar with through the CDC. And one is Baby's Busy Day, Being One is So Much Fun, Where is Bear, a terrific tale for 2-year-olds, and Amazing Me, It's Busy Being 3. So these used to come in English and Spanish, but we've printed them to where they're bilingual. So each book is English and Spanish. And so I know literacy, like this plays right into what y'all are doing and on the well child visits. And so there's prompts for parents because sometimes literacy can be kind of a scary thing. And so there are prompts for parents and as well as milestones so parents know what to be looking for at this age and what to expect with their child's development. So these are available as well. Next, please. This is a great book that is, it's been terrific and it's been very popular. It's a bilingual book and it's first 100 words and they're in English and Spanish. We had a pilot project called the New York State Baby Bundle, and we had this book in it, and it was very popular, and families really enjoyed it. So we have those available. Next. This is one that we also had. It's called What to Do When Your Child Gets Sick. And this is a resource that we had in our baby bundles that had like very easy to understand language. It had a place in it for important phone numbers, a place where you could write notes or questions. And this was the idea behind this was to help families, stay out of emergency rooms all the time. It might be something like, is it an earache? Is it cradle cap? So it's always, we always would say that if you have concerns, call your doctor, go to the, whatever you need to do. But it's written at, I believe, 5th grade level. So it was easy for parents to understand. And the feedback that we got from parents is that they really liked this. So it saved unnecessary trips sometimes to the emergency room. And we have this available in English only. And then, so this is the QR code for you. To order, all the resources I talked about are free. And if you want to go to the next slide, if you have questions, you can email us at nysb5@ccf, which is Council on Children and Families.ny.gov. So we're happy to take any questions, because when you see the order form, if you want to go back to that, so people could scan that if you'd like. It may have a limit on some of the books, but if you have questions, you can email us and we can send out, like I can't send out like 2,000 or, in an order or whatever, but we will do the best that we can to give you these free extra resources for your practice. And that was quick for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Nancy.
Absolutely. And if you ever have any questions or would like me to come back and talk in more depth about some of those resources, I'm more than happy to.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And to all of our panelists or all of our participants, if you aren't able to get the QR code up and loaded right now, we will be sending a follow-up email early next week with including links to all of these wonderful resources that Nancy has just shared with us. And I'm going to pass it off to Jessie to plug some fun upcoming Reach Out and Read events.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Good afternoon, everyone. This is just a reminder about our annual conference. New date, it will be May 8th. So please save the date. We will be sending more information about the location and how to RSVP in the next few days. In the meantime, if you have a topic of interest or would like to participate in the conference as a panelist, please feel free to reach out to me directly for more information. And with that, I would like to pass it to our Executive Director, Emily, for closing remarks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And what a positive and uplifting conversation during what we know were really difficult and stressful times in a lot of ways for all of you and the children and the families that we serve. We at Reach Out and Read are certainly very aware of some of the recent changes to immigration policy that are likely impacting many of the families that we all serve together. And so I want you all to know that we're invested in doing our part to support all of our families. We were in a meeting just this morning, right before this town hall, with our partners at Cities First Readers to pool resources and share information and support that we can then all gather and collate and bring to all of you. So just know that that is something that we're actively working on. We're gathering those resources as they come to us, making sure they're credible and vetting them, of course. And then we will be putting that together for our upcoming February newsletter. as well as, other email blasts so we can get that out to you all. I would say that if you have specific questions or ideas of what would be most helpful that your families are looking for, to please feel free to share that with us. You can email us directly. And then similarly, if you have a resource that you've developed or your hospital or clinic has developed that you think could be helpful to the network, please do send that our way. And again, we'll collate that and put that all together. And we just want to thank all of you. There's a lot of stress and worry going on right now that you are fielding for yourselves personally, and then also on behalf of our children and families. So we want to stand with you with those feelings and thank you for all that you're doing, and reiterate that we're here to support. So thank you all for everything that you do, and thank you to the team for this wonderful town hall.
Thank you so much, Emily. And thank you to all of the people who joined us today. Thank you to our panelists again, and thank you to Nancy from the New York State Council on Children and Families. We'll be sharing this recording and the resources in a follow-up, and hope to see you at future town halls and future conferences. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was,
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
it was